thought we'd have a quick discussion about specs of the GPD Pocket 3 and how it compares to the Pocket 2. So to give you some idea, I'll go through the Pocket 2 specs and then you can see how much of a jump Pocket 3 is in the chips that are used. So the Pocket 2, the one I have, is the 71, is a Core M7130Y, and I know they did a slight upgrade to the 8100Y, but these are 2 cores, 4 thread CPUs with a base clock of about 1.1 GHz and a turbo frequency of about 3.4. So that has a cache of 4 megabytes, and the graphics on there is the Intel UHD graphics 615, runs at 300 megahertz base, and 900 is the max on it. It has 8 gigs of RAM, what's LPDDR3, and depending on which model you have different storage. What is EMC storage? The one I have's got 128, and I believe a little bit later on they went up to 256 gigs. So I'm just having a look at what other specs. The battery on here is 800 milliamps. The screen resolution is the same as the Pocket 3, was 1200p. So because it's 7-inch screen, it has a slightly higher pixels per inch. This was running on Amber Lake Y architecture on 14 nanometers, and it ran about 8 watts. So that gives you an idea of what the Pocket 2 had. Now when you look at the model, the top model we've got on that I have here of the Pocket 3, that has an Intel i7 instead of a Core M. It's 1195 G7, was a 4-core 8 threads, has base frequency of 2.9 GHz and a turbo, single core turbo of 5 GHz and an all-core 4.6 GHz. It has 12 megs of cache. It's running on 10 nanometers. It's running Tiger Lake, and it can go up to 30 watts. I think it's 35 on the actual chip, but I think GPD's limited it to 30 watts. That can go as low as 6 watts, which I have done on mine because I don't use too heavy software. I've extended the battery life because it still runs pretty well at them speeds. Now from the graphics part, it has a Intel Iris Xe graphics with 96 execution units, base clock of 400 megahertz and a max frequency of 1.4 gigahertz. It has 96 execution units and 768 shaders. Now the old graphics cards that they used to put, the built-in ones that is used on the Pocket 2, has always been very poor, but these new Xe Tiger Lake based ones are actually pretty decent. Obviously it's not really made to play top of the end games at high specs, but yeah, it does a reasonable job of playing games with that sort of graphics, sort of level of a modern day game. It has 16 megs of LPDDR 4X running at 3.733 gigahertz, and it can go up to 4.2, I think, but GPD's lowered it, I'm guessing, to save battery life on the in the BIOS, but that can be changed if you want the extra speed on the RAM. It has, for storage, has 1 terabyte NVMe 1.3 Gen 3. It can hold Gen 4, but the actual M.2 card that's GPD puts in it is a Gen 3, but it can be done up to Gen 4, and it can hold double-sided chips, so you can imagine the speed advantage on that. It has Wi-Fi goes up to AX on this one, so that's a lot faster than the old models. And it has Thunderbolt, so you can add external graphics and stuff like that. There is stuff that we talked about in the last video about improvements to the backlight on the keyboard and the camera. One of the comparisons we were talking here is battery. So this one has essentially 10 milliamp battery, so the other one had 6.8, this one's got 10, so it's obviously a larger battery to cope with the load of the higher speed chip. But as I was saying, the other one runs at 8, and I've clocked mine down to the wattage. I've dropped down to 628, so 6 base, and it can frequency up to 8, what gives me giving me about 10 hours battery life. Was pretty good on there. So that's the quick specs of the two machines, and hopefully that gives you an idea of the improvement. Essentially, GPD on this model is using the top card that they can. I believe it's the top 11th gen card that's available. I don't believe there's an i9 version of the 11th gen. So that is their top card with the top built-in graphics, and they've got decent speed RAM and a very high speed NVMe storage, so there's not much more they could do. So even though this is an 8-inch laptop, it's actually got the specs of, well, whatever laptop you would go on the high-end range is not going to have a better CPU. It may have a better GPU if it has a discrete one built in, but if it's using Intel's own graphics, this is the sort of the top model that you can have built into the chips. So it is very powerful, and recommended for anyone who wants a small laptop. It is slightly more expensive. When I bought the Pocket 2 on Indiegogo when it first came out, I believe it was around 600 UK pounds, and this Pocket 3 is about 850, I think it cost me in money, so that there is a bit of a jump there to go with it. So I hope you found that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.